All right, 10.5, we're going to learn how to factor today. Now listen, you got to pay attention because you are going to factor in Algebra 2, you're going to factor in trig, you're going to factor on the PERT to try to get into dual enrollment, you're going to factor in college algebra, in college math. So factoring is one of those skills that you want to perfect now because you're going to use it for a long time to come. All right, when we factor, here's essentially what we're doing. Do you remember FOIL? And I hope you do because we just quizzed on it yesterday. Yesterday we had two binomials that needed to be multiplied together. And so we used the FOIL method. All right, our final answer. Let's work this out. What is our final answer? If we're FOILing x plus 2 times x plus 3. All right, Zach, what do I multiply together first?
First
which are?
x.
So x times x is x squared. All right. What are the second? What's the O stand for, Kennedy?
Outside.
So we're multiplying the x and the 3, which gives us positive 3x. All right. The inside terms, the I. Reagan, what are we multiplying for the inside terms?
2x.
And then when we multiply that, we get
2x.
positive 2x. And then Izzy, L stands for, what are my last terms? Good. And when I multiply those, I get 6. Now remember, if I FOIL correctly, the middle two terms will be alike, and I will combine them. So x squared plus 5x plus 6. So when we FOILed our binomials, when we multiplied two binomials together, we ended up with a trinomial. So factoring is going backwards. It's the opposite of FOIL. We're going to take a trinomial, and we are going to make it look like two binomials that are multiplied. All right? So factoring is going backwards. We're taking the trinomial and we're breaking it down into two binomials. Now, first thing you want to do when you're factoring is you want to figure out the signs. Are my parentheses going to have the same sign? Are my parentheses going to have different signs? So here is the trick. And again, I don't know if you've learned this. I don't even know that this is in a book. All right? But this is the trick that I teach you to quickly be able to find out if your signs are the same or if they are going to be different. All right, we're always going to look at the second sign of our trinomial. So if you look at these first two trinomials, the second sign in both of these trinomials are positives. All right, you see that? So if the second sign is positive, we know that our signs are going to be the same. Now, what are they going to be? Are they both going to be positive or are they both going to be negative? That is based off of the first sign. So you can see how the arrow goes from the second sign back to the first sign. So once I figure out my signs are going to be the same, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the first sign. And in this problem, I'm going to find out that they are both going to be positive. So look, when I create my two binomials, they're both going to have positive signs. All right, in the second one, the signs are going to be the same. I know that because the second sign is positive. But when I look back at the first sign, it's a negative. So both of my signs are going to be negative. So the plus sign tells me they're going to be the same. The first sign tells me if they're both going to be plus, they're both going to be minus. Everybody with me so far? Now, if my second sign is negative, like it is in this trinomial, then I automatically know my signs are going to be different. And I'm going to go ahead and make one of them plus and one of them minus. All right? So that is how we can very quickly figure out if the signs in our binomials are going to be the same or if they're going to be different. So we're going to practice that on every single problem today. That's the first thing that we are going to figure out. Now, in order to factor quickly, there's a lot of different methods, all right? But I'm going to teach you this X method. And this is a good method because Mr. Kosten uses it. So you can walk into Algebra 2 in a couple years and you can impress him with your knowledge of this X method. But you got to know what each part of the X is going to contain. So looking at this screen, it says that the coefficient of X is going to be in the top part of the problem. All right. So for example, if I give you x squared plus 5x, what was that last one? The answer? Or was it plus 6? Plus 6. Okay, so let's take the trinomial from the last screen or the first screen, and let's look at it. All right, what is the coefficient of x? 5. So the 5 is what we would put up here in the top of our x. All right, the bottom of the x is supposed to hold our constant. So what is the constant in our problem? 6. All right? Now, the sides of the problem are going to hold our factors of the constant. Factors. Let's talk about that for a second. If I'm looking for a factor, what is a factor? It's the numbers in what kind of a problem? All right, it is the numbers in a multiplication problem that are being multiplied together. So we have to find the factors of our constant, and those factors are going to be going on the side. All right, and of course, we're already going to have figured out if our signs are plus or minus, and we're going to already have plugged that into the x. Now, the factors of the constant, look at those little notes at the bottom of this. The factors of the constant, so the numbers multiplied to get the constant, must add up to give you the coefficient. So the numbers that we choose have to multiply and give us 6, but they have to add up and give us 5. All right? And the factors of the constants becomes the number in the parentheses. So if we go back to our two binomials, those two factors that we find are going to be the number part of our binomials. Now, I know I've told you a lot of information, so let's work an example. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw our x. All right, draw our x. Again, there's no certain size. Just give yourself plenty of room to fill in all these spaces. Now, I told you the first thing we're going to figure out, though, is the signs. Are my signs going to be the same, or are they going to be different? So looking at the second sign in my trinomial, Reagan, is my sign a positive or a negative? All right, the second sign in my trinomial is a positive. So my signs are going to be what? The same. And what are they going to be? Positives or negatives? Good. Because of the first sign, I know that both of my signs are going to be positive. Now, I realize normally we don't need plus signs in front of positive numbers, but for visual sake, let's go ahead and put them. All right? The factor on the left is going to be positive. The factor on the right is going to be positive. Now, let's fill in the numbers. All right? Janicia, what is supposed to go at the top of my x? 7. The coefficient only. So the coefficient of x is a 7, so 7's going in the top. All right, Ellie, what's going in the bottom of this problem? The constant in my problem is a positive 10, so it's going on the bottom. Now remember, I need factors of the constant that added up give me the coefficient of x. So over to the side, we're going to list our factors. Sometimes these factors will come to your mind really quick. Sometimes they won't. So we're going to list. We're going to get you in the habit of listing them. And we will always start with 1 times whatever the number is. So 1 times 10 is our first set of factors. Does 2 times anything give me 10? Yes. What? 2 times 5. All right. Are there any other factors of 10?
No.
Is he the only one that thinks no? Do you agree with him? Don't be shy. Does 3 times anything give me 10?
No.
Does 4 times anything? Does 5 times anything? Yes, but don't we already have that combination? Yeah. So we know we're finished. All right, so he was correct. Good job. Now, the question is, because my signs are the same, am I going to add these two numbers or am I going to subtract them? I'm going to add them. The signs are the same. So what 2 numbers or what 2 factors that I've listed can I add together and get 7? 5 and 2. Now, since my signs are the same, it doesn't really matter where I put the 2 and where I put the 5. Now, I have all the information that I need to write my 2 binomials. Now, one thing we haven't talked about yet, what goes first in each set of binomials? Well, so far, we've worked with the coefficient of x and we've worked with the constant. What have we not done anything with yet from the original problem? The x squared. So what do you think we're going to do with the x squared? We have 2 x's and we have 2 sets of parentheses. Okay, we're going to split them up. The first set of parentheses is going to get 1x and the second set of parentheses will get the other. Because remember, when we FOILed, x times x gave us that x squared. So we're just breaking the x squared in half. We're going to put one of them in the first set of parentheses and one of them in the second. Now, from the side of my x, I know I'm going to bring down a plus 2 and a plus 5. And I have 2 binomials set to multiply. So I have factored that trinomial. That's my final answer. Now, if you're checking this, let's say you want to go back, you want to look at your final answer, and you want to check it. Remember, you're multiplying the 2 numbers to get the constant of 10. You're adding them to get the coefficient of x, which was 7. So when you want to check, or if you're looking at a problem, a multiple choice problem, and you're trying to figure out which one's the right factored answer, all right, you're multiplying the two numbers to get the constant. You're adding them to get the coefficient of x. All right, any questions so far? Okay, let's look at letter B. Go ahead and let's draw our x. Fernando, my signs, are they going to be the same this time or are they going to be different? How do you know? Very good. The second sign in the trinomial is a negative, which automatically tells me one of my signs is plus and one of my signs is negative. Right? That's the first thing we want to figure out. Now, fill in the rest of the x. Fernando, what's going at the top of my x?
2.
You sure?
Negative.
-2. And the bottom? -35. Now, if you're ever unsure about your signs, here's another way to figure it out. If my constant is negative, and I know I'm looking for factors, two numbers that I'm going to multiply, can I get a negative if I have two positive signs? Can I get a negative if I'm going to multiply two negatives together? No. So the only way I'm getting a negative constant is to have a positive number and a negative number. So that's another way to check those signs and make sure that you have the right signs. So we need factors of which number? The 35. All right, factors of the 35. And we don't have to worry about the sign right now. We're just focusing on the 35. So we will start with 1 times 35. Always start with 1, because sometimes 1 in the number will be what you need to use. All right, so always start with 1 times the number. Noah, 2 times anything, give me 35. 3 times anything? 4? 5? 5 times 7. 6? No, 7. But do I already have it? All right, as soon as my factors start repeating, I'm done. All right, so the next question, Noah. Which set of factors? Are we going to be adding them this time or subtracting them? Good. Our signs are different, and we know from what we've learned we cannot add numbers together that have different signs. So we're looking for the set of factors that we subtract to get 2. So which set of factors are we going to use?
5 and 7.
Good. Now, the last piece of this that could prove a little bit difficult. Which one is positive and which one is negative?
5 is positive, 7 is negative.
All right, you say the 5 is positive and the 7 is negative. Why do you say that?
Because it has to be a negative number.
Very good. My 2 is negative. So here's the rule. The bigger factor has to go with the sign of the coefficient. So if my coefficient is a negative, which it is in this problem, then the bigger factor has to go with the negative. Now, if you're unsure, plug in whatever you want and then test it. What is positive 5 minus 7? Class? Is that what we were trying to get? Negative 2? All right, then we've got what we need. So what is, Noah, my final answer?
X plus 5 and X minus 7.
Good. Now, does it matter? Does the order matter? Could I have put X minus 7 first and X plus 5 second? Yes, absolutely. All right, but my final answer, the two binomials that I'm going to multiply together would be X plus 5 and X minus 7. All right, any questions so far? All right, take a minute, either by yourself or with someone around you, and work letter C. All right, Jevinson, what answer did you get for letter C?
I got X plus 2 and X minus 3.
All right, you got X plus 2 and X minus 3. So let's work this out and let's see if he got the correct answer. All right, Jevinson, first of all, my signs. Are they going to be the same or are they going to be different? They're going to be the same based on the fact that my second sign is positive, and they're both going to be what?
Positive or negative.
You got to look back at the first sign. If you know they're going to be the same, the first sign will tell you what they're going to be. So they're both going to be what? They're both going to be negative. Based on the first sign that we look back at, they will both be negative. All right, Jevinson, what went at the top of your X?
Negative 5.
And what went at the bottom?
6.
All right, what did you do next?
Then I put 1 times 6. And then I went down to 2 times
Okay. Were there any other factors of 6? All right. So then how did you pick your factors?
I put 2 on the left side and 3 in front.
All right. So you chose 2 and 3. Why did you choose 2 and 3?
Oh, it was just based on the different examples that I looked back at. So that's
All right. But what do 2 and 3? We know they multiply to give us 6, but we need them to add or subtract in this case, since the signs are the same. We need them to add up to give us what?
6, 5.
The 5. So if I add 2 and 3, do I get 5? Yes. And since my signs are the same, it doesn't matter which one I put where. So I've got a 2 and I got a 3. So Jevinson, does that make your answer the right answer?
No.
All right, what did you do wrong in your answer?
I put a plus 2 instead of negative 2.
Good. So it should have been x minus 2 and x minus 3. Okay, but other than that, you did it correct. How many of you got x minus 2 times x minus 3? Awesome. Any questions for those who didn't get it? Figure out where your mistake was. Zach?
Why didn't you choose 1 times 6?
Because I have to add the 2 factors together since my signs are the same. And 1 plus 6 would have given me 7 instead of 5.
Different
Right. Had they been different signs and I was going to subtract them, then yes, 1 and 6 would have worked. But that's why it's important to identify the signs first. First thing you want to do is figure out, are my signs the same or are they different? All right, let's look at letter D. Let's look at letter D. All right, Reagan, signs, the same or different? Okay, look at your second sign. Is it positive or negative? So what does that tell me? Immediately, that's different. My signs are going to be 1's plus, 1's going to be minus. All right, Larson, what would go in the top of the X? Remember, it's going to be the coefficient of X. So in this problem, what is the coefficient of X? 1. Good. There's an understood 1 right there. So 1 is in the top of my X. And what would be at the bottom of my X? Good. Negative 56. My constant is negative 56. Kennedy, what would we do next? All right. Give me the factors of which number? 56.
1 times 56.
Okay.
And
28, all right. 3? Just 3 times anything, give me 56. No. All right, what about 4? This is good. I mean, this is why your calculator is helpful, because you can figure out 4 times 14, all right. And 5?
No.
6?
No.
7?
No. Yes.
7 times
8.
Very good. So these are our factors of 56. Now we got to pick 2 of them. Kennedy, this time are we picking the 2 that we add to get 1 or that we subtract to get 1? Good. My signs are different. So which of these numbers can, or which of these sets of factors can be subtracted to get 1?
7.
Awesome. Now, which one's positive? Which one's negative?
8's positive and 7's.
Good. Again, if you're unsure, go ahead and pick and then check it. 8 minus 7 is going to give me the positive 1 that I need. But also remember, the bigger number, when I'm subtracting, when my signs are different, the bigger number needs to go next to the sign that is the same as the coefficient. So, final answer, Kennedy?
X plus 8 and X minus 7.
Could I do x minus 7 first and then x plus 8? Yes, I could. It would not change a thing. So that is your final answer. All right, any questions? All right, example number 2. Last thing we're going to do. Now, the only way that this works, all right, the only way that this works is if this has everything, the trinomial on one side, and it's set equal to 0. So had I started the problem like this, let's say I had made this x squared plus 16x equals negative 28. Would I have been able to start the problem if it looked like that? No. What would I have had to do first? Add the 28. I got to get everything on one side, and it's got to be set equal to 0. So x squared would come down, 16x would come down, and plus 28 would come down, equals 0. So once everything is on one side of the problem and it's set equal to 0, now we can start solving the equation by factoring. All right, just wanted to throw that out there in case you see that something like that on your homework tonight. All right, but here's the problem. So we're going to factor like normal. We're going to go back. We're going to use our x method. Nothing's changing yet. We're going to do exactly what we've been doing. So draw your x. All right, Ajane, signs, the same or different? Based on, how do you know that? The second symbol, the second sign in the problem is positive, so it tells me they're the same. Are they both positive or are they both negative? Good. I look back at the first sign and it's a positive, so I know both of my signs are going to be positive. Ajane, what number is going in the top of my x? Good. The coefficient is 16. And the bottom? 28. Awesome. Now, I need what? Ajane, what would I do next? Okay, factors of 28. So, of course, we're going to start with 1 times 28. 2 times anything, class? Give me 28. 2 times 14. 3 times anything? 4 times anything? 4 times 7 gives me 28. 5 times anything? 6 times anything? 7. Yeah, but 7's already up there, so I know I am finished. All right? Ajane, the factors that we pick, are we going to be adding them together or subtracting them? We're going to be adding them, all right, because my signs are the same. So which two factors added together give me the number that I need? Good. I need a 16, and 2 and 14 will give me that 16. So I got a positive 2, positive 14. So Ajane, what is my final factored answer? Awesome. Now I'm not done though, because remember my original problem was set equal to 0, so my factored form also has to be set equal to 0. And then how, Noah, am I going to solve this problem?
X plus 2 equals 0. And you subtract 2.
Well, let's set up both problems first. X plus 2 equals 0 and
X plus 14
equals 0. And then you said to subtract 2 from both sides?
No, yes, ma'am.
All right, so what is my final answer?
X equals negative 2.
All right, and then on the other one?
You subtract 14 from both sides.
Okay.
X equals negative 14.
X equals negative 14. So on the quiz yesterday, it was factored already for you, and you just got to set both parts equal to 0. Today, you now know how to factor. So you have to factor it, then you have to solve it. How do you know when you're solving and when you're not? 2 things. Number 1, the instructions say solve the equation. Number 2, have any of your problems before this been set equal to 0? No. Okay, so if your problem is not set equal to 0, you stop at the factored form. If it is set equal to 0, you got to go one step further and you got to solve for x. Take a minute. Work letter B. You can work it alone or with somebody around you. All right, is this problem ready to work? Is the trinomial on one side and is it set equal to 0? Yes. So we're going to draw our x. Okay, Fernando, my signs. Are they going to be the same or are they going to be different? How do you know? Good. The second sign is negative, so I know 1's plus and I know 1 is minus. Janicia, my numbers. What numbers are going at the, or what number is going at the top of my x? And at the bottom? Negative 24. Awesome. Jevinson, what do I do next?
Oh, you are going to have 1 times 24.
Okay, factors of 24. So 1 times 24?
Yeah, it's 2 times 12, 3 times 8, Yeah, and 4 times 6.
Okay. Now how do I pick my set of factors this time?
You're going to subtract.
All right, I'm going to have to subtract them to get what?
To get 5,
So which set of factors can subtract and give me 5?
3, and 8.
Awesome. Now, which is positive and which is negative?
Oh, the positive is 8
Why?
because the previous sign. Because 5 is positive.
Very good. 5 is positive, so my bigger factor has to go with the positive sign. All right, and what is my final answer, Jevinson?
Oh. 8. X plus 8. And x minus 3.
Am I done? All right, what do I have to bring down?
You have to set it to 0.
Good, I got to set it equal to 0. Ellie, what do I do from here?
X plus 8 equals 0, and then x minus 3 equals 0.
Okay.
Subtract 8 from both sides, which equals x minus x equals -8.
All right.
And then add 3 to both sides,
Okay.
and then you get x equals 3.
Awesome. That's it. All right. Any questions at all? Because that is lesson 10.5.